All right, wall fans, common sensors, social media world, and of course, podcast consumers. Welcome to episode 98 of Go Tell to the Wall podcast. I'm your favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke, and we're getting started late tonight. I had some crazy delays. My 2-year-old is a little ridiculous now when it comes to going to bed, and I had to tuck her in like 5 times before I actually came in here to fully get into recording. That's the joys of having a toddler at home. If you have one, you know how it is, such as Bridget and Chris, who are probably both together, or Chris will be joining shortly. They know all too well what it's like trying to put a toddler to bed, and it can be challenging at times. And that's why we're getting started a little bit late tonight. And as I mentioned in the teaser, we've got a lot of stuff tonight, so I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. Let's just get into it. Funny, I think my wife is sleep is for the week. I think my wife is currently burning some leftovers in the kitchen because I can smell it from my studio. All right. Common Sensors podcast consumers, welcome to episode 98 of Go Tell to the Wall podcast. I am, of course, your favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke, and we missed a week last week. It's funny, I say that a lot, but for those of you that only listen to the pod, you just noticed that a new podcast didn't download to your thing. It's more of the live feed people and the people that watch the videos that are like, where was it? In fact, I had someone message me the other day and say, oh my gosh, I missed the live feed, and I was like, no, you didn't, because it's, yeah, thank you, Chris. I was saying before I got onto the actual recording here that my wife might be burning some leftovers in the kitchen. I can smell it. I can smell it from here. I'm sure she's not. She's actually... If someone was burning something in the kitchen, it would most likely be myself, not my wife. She knows what she's doing in the kitchen, whereas I do not most of the time. I'm like, oh, I can make some macaroni and cheese. Not a lot of things I make in the kitchen. It's just... I've never had a talent for cooking the foods. Anyway, like I said, episode 98... and we kick things off with our social plugs. That's right, you can follow us during episodes, before episodes, after episodes, between episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do so in multiple locations. One of those would be Twitter. Head on over to Twitter, and you will find our official Twitter account for Go Tell to the Wall, and that would be @TellTheWallPod. That's right, @TellTheWallPod. Make sure you follow that. You're going to stay up to date on new episodes, new stuff, new concepts coming out. Additionally, you can follow my personal Twitter account, which is @MagicMuppet. Hey, Kevin. Make sure you follow that one as well. You're going to get some repeats of stuff, but there's all kinds of good stuff coming through there. I will preface that with the @MagicMuppet account is me just kind of off the top of my head. Most of the important information without the ridiculousness that is Sean O'Rourke, myself, without any kind of filter, which happens at times. Additionally, you can follow us on Facebook. That's right, we're currently live on Facebook right now with our live feed. Do so at Facebook, facebook.com/GoTellToTheWall. Like our page, check back often. We haven't been as up to date on things like it's mostly just new episodes being posted, but I'm making sure that we're getting new information out to everybody and important stuff, specifically some stuff we're going to talk about tonight. And we do have admins on that page that kind of keep things in line as opposed to the @MagicMuppet Twitter account where it's just me kind of going off the top of my head at times. So make sure if you are a Facebook user, make sure you like our page and check back often, and we'll keep everyone up to date on kind of stuff pertaining to things that we talk about on the podcast, which I've just been bad about lately, I'll admit it, and we're going to start being better about that, especially when we're giving out calls to action, like those kind of things, so we're going to make sure that's on Facebook. You can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube. That's right, head on over to YouTube, search Go Tell to the Wall, you're going to find our channel right there, subscribe, like the videos, watch the videos, do all the things. You're going to find all of our live feeds. They get posted there usually a couple days after we record. Those are live feeds from Facebook. Additionally, you're going to find all of our beer reviews, some parenting segments, some mental health segments, which there hasn't been a lot posted yet, but I've got a bunch in the hopper that just need to get posted on there, as well as other good things that you're going to find on YouTube. So make sure, please subscribe to our channel. And then, of course, most importantly, and all-encompassing of those things I just mentioned, I say it every week, would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's right, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's our official website. That's my official website pertaining to everything that is Go Tell to the Wall and everything that is the one and only Sean O'Rourke. So make sure you head on over there, bookmark it, check back often. There, you actually have links to all those things I just mentioned, all those social platforms I just mentioned. There are links on there, as well as things you're not going to find anywhere else. You're going to find images that don't get posted anywhere else, some videos, and our blog posts. So make sure you have that bookmarked. Check back often and see all of the things, and see our actual on-air producers. There's pictures of our on-air producers on the website. You're not going to find those anywhere else. We should probably put some on Facebook. Bridget, we'll talk about that like later in the week or whatever, and figure out doing that. And of course, you'll also find a link to our Patreon. Patreon, if you're not familiar with Patreon, that is I don't even know what it's not. I wanted to say crowdfunding, but it's not. It's a website that artists and broadcasters and the like use to kind of help keep their passion and their art funded. And we do have a Patreon page that you can go to, and if you have the means and you see fit to do so, please help us out financially. $1, $2, $3, every little bit counts. It helps to keep everything moving smoothly within this studio, and it helps to bring in new concepts and everything else, which we're currently working on. I'm kind of pushing everything up until episode 100, and then there's new stuff coming. I've been literally sitting in the studio developing it, so look forward to that. And as I mentioned to our live feed, we did miss a week last week, but we are back, and that was really mainly due to the fact that my wife was out of the country. Not just out of the country, she was in China, like halfway across the world, and it was me riding solo with my 2-year-old here, so I just chose to take a week off and not have to stress over that while it's just me and my 2-year-old, at home. But now we are back on track with episode 98, so everything is all good. And no bad things. We can miss a week every now and then. Either I get sick and lose my voice, or things happen and we miss one. But that doesn't mean we miss an episode, because we just kind of keep counting them. We could miss 2 months, which we won't, but we could miss 2 months, and you wouldn't miss an actual episode. It would just be a few weeks without a podcast to listen to, I guess. There you go. And lastly, in the opening beer this week, tasty one from New Belgium Brewing. This is, if you're not familiar with New Belgium, you probably are. They make the Fat Tire beer that's pretty popular. You find it just about everywhere. They have lots of other tasty beers, but they are fully employee owned, so they are fully craft brewery, employee owned, not one of the big boys that you're going to find like a Heineken and stuff, that owns all of these breweries. They are fully employed. IPA. And this Voodoo Ranger, they have a few different kind of beers from Voodoo Ranger. It's one of their like subdivisions, sublines that they're doing. And we actually have we've had some of their other ones on here. I know we had them for a Halloween episode at one point. But this, like I said, is their Juicy Haze IPA. It's a juicy IPA. It's a hazy IPA. Not super juicy like some of the ones you've been finding around Southern California if you live around here, or I'm sure elsewhere. It's just I happen to live in Southern California. That's where I find those super juicy ones that almost taste like orange juice. This one's closer to a New England IPA. Super tasty. Higher alcohol content. It's sitting at 7.5, so we'll see how long I can get through this without getting off the rails and getting ridiculous here. So keep that in mind. But it is tasty if you're an IPA fan. Definitely recommend that one to you. And definitely, if you don't like IPAs, check out New Belgium Brewing. They're a great brewery. Lots of tasty beers, and I highly, highly recommend them, especially because they are still a true craft brewer that you're not going to find with a lot of these others, because they just get gobbled up by the bigger beer companies and everything else. I love it. It's tasty. All right, let's get into some social trends happening this week, over the past week or so, really past 2 weeks. I think these are mostly this week, but we're going to get into some of those. One of those that's floating around right now, and I don't even have anything clever to. I'm just glad that this is trending right now, and it's hashtag Sesame50. That's right, hashtag Sesame50. If you don't know what that means, we're actually on the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street. 50th anniversary. It's crazy to think that 50th anniversary of Sesame Street is kind of happening right now this year, I guess. I don't know the specific date when that would be, but that's currently trending, and people are sharing their stories of Sesame Street. Because when you think about like 50 years of Sesame Street, that's multiple generations of people that have grown up with Sesame Street. And that's just amazing to think about. And it's still going strong. Still new episodes. My 2-year-old watches Sesame Street. She was just watching Sesame Street today while I was working on the show. It's amazing the longevity that they have. And specifically, I was a Sesame Street kid. Absolute Sesame Street kid. And in fact, I remember going to kindergarten when I first attended kindergarten in Miami, Florida. Your favorite podcast host, was actually born in Florida. Weirdly, weird as that sounds, I was there, and it's still weird to me. I actually learned to count to 10 in Spanish. And then when I got to kindergarten, from Sesame Street, and when I got to kindergarten, we took Spanish in my kindergarten in Miami. And I already knew how to, like, the first lesson on one of the first days was how to count to 10. And I was like, oh, I got this. Because I had learned it from Sesame Street. So it's just a fantastic show. It's great to see that they're still going strong and still influencing kids. And they have a saying, yeah, I can't think of the saying, but they have a saying like teaching kids to be kinder, smarter, and all this other stuff, and it's all fantastic. Yes, I am Florida man, Bridget. I am actually Florida man. Just nobody knows that. No, it's everyone. A lot of people don't realize that I was born in Florida. Oh, thank you, Chris. November 10th, 1969. So we haven't quite hit the anniversary of their first air date, but we are within that year. So they're kind of celebrating 50 years of Sesame Street, just I guess throughout the year over the next few months. And like I was saying, people don't realize I was born in Florida because I moved to San Diego when I was 7, and even when I was living in Miami as a young child, I spent a lot of time in Chicago and San Diego, so I don't have a crazy association to Florida, despite the fact that I was born there and did live there for a little while. Went to kindergarten and first grade there. Yeah, strange. But most people, and I consider myself a Southern California boy. I mean, really, it's just a California boy. Outside of my fandom, because my father's from Boston, it's all about Southern California for me, and it was growing up. All right, another social trend going around right now would be hashtag Women in Baseball Day. So apparently today is Women in Baseball Day, which is this is fantastic. I'm a big baseball fan. If you've listened to the podcast, you know I love baseball. It's a fantastic sport to watch. I love watching. I was never good at playing it, but I really enjoy watching it. I always have since I was a kid. There's just as a kid there was something about watching midday games during the summer, and now Sunday evening and watching some Sunday night baseball. Love baseball. But if you're not familiar with this Women in Baseball, there was a time during World War II, and there's a movie you can watch that was a pretty good movie with Tom Hanks and Gina. Oh my gosh, Gina Davis. Yes, Gina Davis. And Madonna. Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell. Oh, there are a whole bunch of people in that movie. Called League of Their Own. And it's all about the women's professional baseball league that existed because of World War II. I believe it was one of the wars where all the baseball players actually went off to war, and they wanted to continue with professional baseball. So they created a female professional baseball league, which did fairly well at the time. And honestly, I think if they did something like that nowadays, it would probably do pretty decently. It's something I would watch. I'd be all about it. I don't know how much of a demand there would be for it, but I'm all about it. Nonetheless, the history behind it is what's interesting, and it's great to see that people are recognizing that, even though it's just on social platforms, recognizing Women in Baseball Day, which again, hashtag Women in Baseball Day, which is today. If it doesn't have a hashtag, it's not an actual day. This is a thing that's only happened in the past like 10 years, where it's like, gotta have a hashtag. Or like hashtag Mental Health Awareness Month. Like, if there's not a hashtag, it doesn't exist. It's ridiculous. Oh, these kids these days, I just don't even know what to say. All right, a couple funny ones floating around right now. Hashtag combine music and movies. Hashtag combine music and movies. I was enjoying this thoroughly, and this is people just sharing a combination of a movie and a song, or multiple songs, multiple movies, whatever it might be. So people like at I am Michael Dank. Oh, I hope his real name is Michael Dank. That's pretty dope. That's like a rock star name right there. Star is born in the USA. Hashtag combine music and movies. And this one I really enjoyed from, I'm not going to say that name. Driving Mrs. Jackson. Hashtag combine music and movies. That might have been Miss Jackson. But now that I think about the song, it should be Mrs. Jackson. I don't know. Maybe it is Miss Jackson. And one more I'll share with you. Chris will probably appreciate this one because you got to be a film buff to even remember what film or miniseries this was. And it's Lonesome Dove's Cry. Hashtag combine music and movies. Figure that one out. You've all got the Prince aspect of it, but Lonesome Dove, not a lot of people know about Lonesome Dove. And I'm not going to sit here and recommend Lonesome Dove. It's just, it was a thing. And people that are had to study films like I did or like Chris did, are usually aware of those things like Lonesome Dove and whatnot. All right, another hashtag going around right now. Hashtag it's perfectly legal too. Hashtag it's perfectly legal too. We know in California and many other states, hashtag it's perfectly legal to smoke a joint. Just, it's perfectly legal nowadays. But I did enjoy this one, which came from I'm Just Dan. I'm Just Dan. I enjoyed this. Hashtag it's perfectly legal to eat tacos on days other than Tuesdays. Yes, wall fans, common sensors. Common sense dictates that we can eat tacos 7 days a week if you really want to. It's just every day can be Taco Tuesday. All right, one more of these I want to share with you. One more hashtag, and then I have an interesting story I want to get into that I'm including here within the social platform trends that are going on right now. But before we get to that, hashtag odd reasons to call the cops. Hashtag odd reasons to call the cops. There's a funny one here. Using different words, it's actually referring to the old TV show Alf. And they use a word that people can use to describe cats. And it's kind of funny, but I'm just not going to use that one. But definitely check this one out. Odd reasons to call the cops. This one I enjoyed from, again, I'm not going to read that name. Someone stole my counterfeit money. Hashtag odd reasons to call the cops. Yeah, there's a bunch of them here. I would recommend checking that one out. There's always those serious stories of people calling the cops. Like, you remember years ago there was a police officer that called 911 because he and his wife had eaten like a pot brownie or something that had been confiscated. We're talking about here. All right, I want to talk about this before we move on to TV film books. We got a lot of TV film books this week and good stuff to talk about. Let me get a sip of my Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA first. I enjoy that one. Like, it's unfortunate that it's 7.5% because I can't drink a ton of them. I just like a couple of them. I'm done. I've gotten weak in my old age. I prefer like a 5.5. We're talking 2% more than what I usually drink. Anyway, I want to talk about this story. So there's an influencer. This story just kind of dropped like this week. Just dropped or started picking up steam this week. There's an influencer. There's finger quotes for those of you that only listen to the audio. Influencer. God, I hate that word. I've always hated that word. So this influencer named Ari, A-R-I-I, who's an Instagram influencer. She has over 2 million Instagram followers. People like follow her page or channel or whatever they call the Instagram stuff. I don't even know. And so because of her influencer influence, she wanted to start a clothing line. And so she made a deal with a company to launch this clothing line. But what had to happen was she had to sell a minimum amount of t-shirts kind of right off the bat so that the company could see, yes, we can do this. You have enough fans that we can get behind this clothing line, whatever it's going to end up being. She needed to sell 36 t-shirts. 36 t-shirts. She couldn't sell the 36 t-shirts. 2 million Instagram followers, and in fact I saw someone that tweeted something about this earlier, and they were like, if 1% of her followers, and I think she's close to 2.5, so I think 2.5 million, someone was basing this on 2.5, if 1% of her followers did this, that's 25,000 shirts. She couldn't even get 1% of her followers to do this. And I'm laughing, not because I feel, because I do kind of feel bad for this influencer. But this is the world we live in. This is the world we live in now, common sensors, wall fans. Think about this. 2 million plus followers on Instagram to make you an influencer. An influencer. But we live in a society where there has to be, you have to have an actual concrete showing to be in business. You know what I mean? As much as I make fun of like the Kardashians, they do make money. They have lines, they have these things. Like, as much as I dislike them, that's influencers. Those are influencers. Just because somebody posts some photos on Instagram and works their way up to 2 million followers because they post photos of themselves. Nothing of any substance. Here's just photos of myself. In fact, I'm looking at this photo of this influencer that's at the top of one of the articles I was looking at, and it's her holding a phone up to a mirror and taking a picture of herself, and she doesn't even look happy. Doesn't even look happy. But this is the world we live in, where people equate their value with the amount of followers they have on social platforms. But we can see, here's a perfect example of how that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. We've inflated the importance of followers on these platforms. These platforms that in the end really mean nothing. They mean nothing. And we need to realize that followers, it doesn't translate to fame or talent. It simply doesn't. Because here's the thing. You can be a super attractive female or male, whatever it is, and you post shirtless photos of yourself. You're going to get followers. You're going to get them. Does that mean people want to buy stuff from you? Hell no. Maybe they do. I'm not saying they won't. But does it definitely? No. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So think about that. Think about the fame that we throw onto all these little influencers because they have followers. But make sure they have substance. Make sure they have talent. Otherwise, you're just inflating numbers for nothing. And you know what the fun fact of all this is? Like, you couldn't even get someone to take your picture. Taking pictures of yourself in a mirror with your smartphone, that's not talent. That's not talent. It's simply not. And the fun fact of the day here, especially pertaining to this, is you want to know the percentage of the U.S. population that is on Twitter? The percentage of the U.S. population. It is about 22%. 22%. And keeping in mind that's adults. It's 22% of the adult population because you have to be 13 or 14 or whatever to be on Twitter. It's only 22%. It's very similar numbers for Instagram. Those numbers do increase a little bit for Facebook. 22%. That's not even half. That's not even a quarter. Like, come on. But this is the world we live in. Everyone justifies their value from social platforms. And I watch this happen all the time. All the time. People are like, I'm Twitter famous. Like, what does that mean? What does that even mean? You can tweet things? That's great. Do something of some substance. You can retweet people. Great. Good for you. You're taking other people's tweets and you're retweeting. You think you're famous now. Give me a fucking break. Seriously. I can't with it anymore. I can't. And here's, like, this is just the perfect example. And I'm really hoping the influencer bubble bursts. Like, completely bursts. And I'm not saying everyone. You know, there are people with substance out there. I have relatives who are influencers. But they have talent. And they put great content out there instead of just taking pictures. That's totally what it is, Bridget. I'm desperate for validation. That's what it is. Desperate for validation. That's why we, like, as much as I talk about the ways you can follow us on social platforms, we don't put a lot of onus on social platforms with Go Tell It to the Wall. We don't. Simply because the majority of our fan base doesn't care to be on Twitter and all those other things. In fact, we have some fans that literally got on Twitter and YouTube. Fine. I'll go and subscribe here. You know, most of them just want to listen. They don't really care to talk to random people. You know, that's what it is for me. I like to vent on Twitter, and it's usually, like, nobody cares, you know, but I vent a little, and it's mostly me getting information from other people. Instagram is photos of my kid. That's basically what it is. And Facebook is basically photos of my kid. That's what I use those platforms for. My relatives thoroughly enjoy it. My friends thoroughly enjoy it. And that's what I go to Facebook mostly for, is to see photos of my friends and their kids and their families and everything else. Let's realize what these platforms really should be used for. All right, TV, film, and books. Man, I feel like we're already behind here. It happens. I won't say we're off the rails, but we're behind a little bit here. TV, film, and books. Rotten Tomatoes finally doing some good things. That sounded so much harsher than it needed to be. Rotten Tomatoes has done some good things. They have finally done something great that they should have done a while ago, and this became terribly evident, especially when Captain Marvel came out. So they are now requiring ticket purchase verification for audience ratings. So if you're an audience member, there's a portion of Rotten Tomatoes. They have actual critic ratings, but they have audience ratings as well. You have to verify your ticket purchase to a particular movie before you can actually leave audience ratings. That's fantastic. Why? Because it makes sense. And now we can't have a bunch of bigots trying to ruin a movie just because they're upset that a woman is playing a superhero, which is crazy. Oh my gosh. Hi, H. How you doing there? What time is it where you are? We've got an international watcher on the on the live feed right now, unless you're in the country right now. But H Kim. Hector Kim. I call him H because that's what he went by when we were living together and going to film school together. All right, moving on. Game of Thrones petition. Oh boy. Oh. This Game of Thrones petition. This is that thing. I talked about it. The reason I'm bringing it up again. But the brother of our very own Chris Song actually posted a very, very well-written, thought-out rant about the petition asking for Season 8 of Game of Thrones to be redone. And I wanted to share some of this with you. I'm going to kind of cruise through it, but you'll get the basic idea. This is Rob Hassan, brother of our very own Chris Song. And I quote, "To raise the petition calling for the redo of Game of Thrones Season 8 and all that signed it. You collectively are some of the most egocentric, delusional, and entitled people ever. Where in the hell do you get off thinking you have any say about how this show looks, sounds, or feels, or what the story is? Let me be abundantly clear. You have zero say. None. You didn't create it, write it, act in it, assist in the production of it, or pay for it. Do you know what that makes you? A consumer. The only power that gives you is to buy or not to buy. You don't get to demand something you bought is changed because you didn't like the product. More importantly, this is a piece of creative art. You can't demand that someone changes that to fit your view of how you think it should have been. Are you arrogant, entitled people going to petition Republic Records and demand Taylor Swift redoes her latest album if it doesn't meet your expectation? Or petition the publisher demanding Stephen King rewrites his latest novel because you didn't like it? Petition an artist to repaint their painting? Doesn't that sound absolutely insane, totally arrogant, wildly inappropriate? Yes, it does. This is you. You have no right to ask an artist to redo their work because it doesn't meet your expectations, period. Buy or don't buy. Complain about it if you want. Complain online if you feel you must. But signing a petition to redo Game of Thrones Season 8 or to redo The Last Jedi because you didn't like it or threaten Marvel Disney for making a female lead superhero movie is completely insane. Don't like it? Fine. You have the right to your opinion, but to have the arrogance to try to force a creator to meet your demands is absolutely intolerable. Life isn't fair, and you can't just whine and expect to get your way. Grow the F up, people, and news outlets, stop shining a light on these whiners. You're not helping. You're merely focusing on spoiled little brats that are throwing a tantrum because they were given vanilla ice cream, but they expected chocolate. Spoiled, immature, childish, entitled. Stop focusing on them, and they might just go away like the spoiled little brat having a tantrum in the grocery store because their mom didn't get them what they wanted. Their mom simply walks away, and the tantrum is no longer any fun. Maybe if we ignore these petition whiners, they will wise up and stop too." Thank you, Rob Hassan. It's funny, I read this like last week, and I was like, yep, that's basically what I have been saying, but he said it much better. So that's a direct quote from him. And those are things to keep in mind. Complain all you want. Complain all you want. Petitions, get stuff remade. And I talked to a couple people about this recently, especially since I saw that post. And I was like, think about it like this. Just the way Rob says it. Would you ask an artist to repaint a painting? Like, hey, Pablo, this one doesn't really fit my needs, Pablo. I'm going to need you to redo that one. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Oh, my gosh. Oh, the best would be Banksy. Like, Banksy, can you redo this graffiti right here? And he just comes in with a blowtorch. You get nothing. That'd be pretty cool to see. But of course, people are still going crazy over this. And in fact, there's a new petition going on that currently has over 10,000 people signed onto it. And it's angry Game of Thrones fans, really, that have come out and said that they want Benioff and Weiss removed from the upcoming Star Wars film that they are working on. Another petition. Another petition. It's just amazing to me. Again, spoiler alert, it's not up to you. It's not up to you. If you're paying Benioff and Weiss, you have every right to fire them. It's not up to you. People. So entitled. It didn't go my way. You're childish. Sorry it didn't go your way. You're a child. Oh, and then yet another Game of Thrones petition? No, not a petition per se, but a campaign that is going on right now. And this one deserves a little good on ya, because there is a Game of Thrones fan who actually started a petition, a campaign raising money for a created in response to the petition. They wanted to put a positive spin on everything that's happening. Same You is actually a charity that was started by Emilia Clarke, and it is to help people with traumatic brain injuries, people recovering from brain surgery, those kind of things. Because if you're not familiar with it, Emilia Clarke actually had 2 brain surgeries over the course of the filming of Game of Thrones, almost died a couple times taking care of aneurysms in her brain. And so based on that, she started this charity. And fortunately, the fan that started this has so far raised $45,000 for the Same You charity. So good on you to those fans, good on you to everyone out there that's actually making a positive impact instead of just sitting on their couch with their laptop and whining. Whining. That's the other thing with the petitions. Because somebody, I can't remember who it was, I was talking to somebody. I think it was in person, not even online. And they're like, well, what's wrong with that? So they're upset. And it's like, the other thing to keep in mind is you're diminishing the power of petitions. We create petitions to make real and logical changes in the world, in our country, in our state, in our city. Not to whine about the ending of a TV show that we didn't enjoy. It's astounding. It's astounding. Just whatever. Can't do it anymore. That's all I have to say about that. Little Forrest Gump. That's all I have to say about that. Like 5 people kind of laughed at that, and the rest are like, shut up, Sean. Some more TV, film, books news. Back to the Future, the musical. You heard that right. Back to the Future, the musical. It's finally happening. We heard rumblings of this like over the past year or two. It is actually finally happening. It is coming to fruition next year in February of 2020. It's finally happening. The Back to the Future musical will be opening in London in February of 2020. The interesting thing about this is Zemeckis, Bob Gale, and Alan Silvestri have all signed on to this. Zemeckis is the writer-director, Bob Gale is the co-writer-producer, and Alan Silvestri did all of the music. They have signed on for this musical. I love Back to the Future, and I hope it does incredibly well. I'm a big Back to the Future fan. Loved it in the 80s, loved it in the... It didn't extend in the 90s. I've loved it ever since it came out. All 2.5 of them. I'll give Back to the Future 3. Like, it was there. It was there. 1 and 2, fantastic films. Big fan of them. Oh, Netflix. Netflix doing some good things. Better get on this, Disney, and your Disney Plus ridiculousness. So we all know about the ridiculousness happening in Georgia right now, and other states, but Georgia getting a lot of spotlight being shined on Georgia right now because of their very restrictive women's rights laws. I'm not even going to call them abortions laws. It's female rights laws. It's ridiculous. 2.5. That's what it is, Chris. Because nobody can give like full credit to Back to the Future 3. But Netflix actually did come out recently, this week, in an interview with Variety. And I believe this was probably their communications officer, is one of their higher-ups, talking about it. How they fully intend to pull all production out of Georgia if the law does take effect. The bill does take effect. Because right now it's a bill that was passed. It hasn't actually fully taken effect. But Netflix has come out and officially said that they will be pulling everything out of Georgia if that new law takes effect. That new bill, that new law. If that new bill becomes law, no more Netflix production in Georgia, which will be interesting. Our very own Chris Hassan wants to start a petition for Back to the Future 3 to be redone. I mean, I don't want to diminish petitions in the long run, but I really wouldn't mind seeing Michael J. Fox and oh my God, Christopher Lloyd like just Let's start it, Chris. In my backyard or your backyard. Perfect. Some news out of Disney. Freaking Disney, man. Really, this one's just interesting. We got some news out of Disney, and this is pertaining to the people that do they do tracking for box offices. So Toy Story 4 is going to be coming out soon, and the tracking on that right now is looking at an opening of about $150 million domestically. Opening weekend, $150 million domestically, which would be interesting. I believe, and Chris might know off the top of his head, that might be the record. Toy Story 3 actually opened at 110, just over $110 million And some of these tracking experts are saying that it could even go as high as 100. Would keep in mind, that doesn't sound like Avengers Endgame. For an animated film, it's incredible to think about the money coming from that. And it absolutely makes sense to me. That's why Toy Story 3 was huge. I was actually at Disney when Toy Story 3 came out. The mania and the fandom behind that was fantastic. And I'm not a huge Toy Story fan myself, but I know a lot of people that are. And the thing to keep in mind with this is nostalgia is so high with people that watched the first Toy Story as kids are now adults. Just through the roof on that one. I wouldn't be surprised if it does 150, 180, even more. I think it'd be interesting to follow. I wouldn't be shocked if it does like 180 even. I mean, and that's just astronomical for an animated film. Astronomical. All right, we got a couple more on these. Dark Phoenix. You've seen they've been running into issues for the past couple of years, really, on reshoots, and most recently they had to do more reshoots, and we got some news as to news coming out of the production team behind Dark Phoenix. I was about to be like, out of Fox Studio, technically out of Disney, I think at this point, was because they'd reshoot the entire ending of the film because it was too much like another big superhero movie. We don't know exactly what superhero movie that was, but the conjecture right now seems to be that it was too close to Captain Marvel. Too close to the ending of Captain Marvel. I'm not spoiling anything. I haven't seen Captain Marvel. I don't know the ending. All I know is Stan Lee's reading the script for Mallrats in it. That's all I know. And I know she ends up in the next film. Like, obviously. You can't avoid that. She's in trailers and junk and whatever else you watch for Endgame. So we know that's happening. And one more thing, really the most important thing I'm going to give you on TV, film, and books this week. And I know our very own Chris's song, and probably Bridget. I believe Chris had shared this, but I'm not sure if Bridget is a fan. We'll have to talk about that. She probably is. We had a trailer drop today, probably the most important trailer for me that is going to be dropped this year. And that would be the trailer for The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. That's right. I've talked about it on the podcast before. This is a new Netflix series. They're probably going to bill it as an original series, but no. There was a film back in the 80s called The Dark Crystal. It's not an original. But this is coming out in, I believe, August. And I'll tell you from the trailer, I was excited about this to begin with. I'm even more excited now based on the trailer. I think it's going to be fantastic. Mark your calendars. It's sometime in August. I believe it was end of August because I remember looking at it and being like, oh, it's like beginning of the burn or during the burn, whatever, Burning Man being the burn. So I'm super excited about this one. I'll have my calendar marked, and I will probably just binge the entire thing because it's going to be on Netflix, and I don't think they're going to do the time to releasing like they've kind of tested on some other properties that they have. But definitely check out that trailer, especially, well, I would say check out that trailer maybe if you were a Dark Crystal fan, a Henson fan. If you weren't, just prepare yourself. It might look a little weird. It's probably a little weird if you're not familiar with Dark Crystal. I will admit that. It's kind of weird. I have a couple things in music here. New Blink album. I've talked about the new Blink 182 album. I knew you were, Chris, because I think I saw the one that you shared. Chris is super excited. I'm super excited. Dark Crystal, like, that is the epitome of my fandom when it comes to Henson. I love the Muppets. I love Fraggle Rock. I love Sesame Street. I love Dark Crystal. I love it all. Love it all. When I went to the Jim Henson Experience here at the Skirball Center, they had the characters from the Dark Crystal, and I'm pretty sure I just stood there staring for like 15 minutes. Just in awe of the actual puppets that were just right there, like a little piece of glass between me. It was amazing. All right, so music news. Like I said, the new Blink album, new Blink 182 album, was supposed to be coming out before Warped Tour kicked off, which meant it was coming out in June sometime. Looks like we've got some confirmation from Millennial Mark Hoppus that it won't actually be coming out in June. He did a little Q&A talking about that and said, no, it will not be coming out. And speaking of Millennial Mark, that's what I have dubbed him now. I have stopped following him on Twitter. Thank you, Chris. August 30th for the new Dark Crystal series. I thought it was the end, and that's like the very beginning of the burn. I've actually stopped following Mark Hoppus on Twitter because he decided almost 2 weeks ago, to start tweeting spoilers about the Game of Thrones finale. And he was doing it at 7 p.m. here on the West Coast. 7 p.m. The show episode wasn't even over yet. It wasn't even aired here yet. But even if you get the 6 p.m. because you get on HBO Go when it's available at 6 p.m. usually, he didn't even finish the damn show. Didn't even finish the episode. And he's spoiling stuff. And this is the problem. We have these influencers. Mark, just go back and write music. You're not a teenager. Stop acting like a teenager on social platforms. Kind of done with him. Still going to listen to your music, Mark. But I'm kind of done with you at this point. I'm going to go hang out with Scott Russo in a couple weeks at the Glass House. Because that's real Poway punk rock music. Alright, moving on to more music news. This one gets both lines of movies, TV, film, books, and music news. Ethan Embry. Are you guys familiar with Ethan Embry? He's an actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. One of the most important films he was in was a little film called Empire Records back in the 90s. Empire Records. There's a scene in that film, and I'm not spoiling anything. He eats a pot brownie, and he inserts himself somehow into this video, music video from a band called Gwar. Gwar. If you've never seen Gwar, check them out. They're interesting. I don't listen to them regularly. It's a fun, interesting band. They were actually on Oprah at one time, years and years and years ago. They're just very theatrical performances that they put on. Again, I'm not trying. If you haven't seen Empire Records, it's not going to spoil anything. He gets eaten. That's like a whole shtick that they do. He gets eaten by this giant worm. He's like, ah! Well, Gwar is playing Riot Fest in Chicago, coming up here soon, and he actually tweeted. Let me see if I can get the actual. Here it is. He tweeted at Gwar. Well, no, didn't even. Yeah, he did tweet at Gwar and said, and I quote from Ethan Embry: "I see Gwar is added to the hellscape of at Riot Fest. I have a 25-year score to settle with a gluttonous virgin-eating worm. See you in Mud City, Gwar." So we're gonna get like a little bit of a sequel to Empire Records in the form of Ethan Embry, who is now 25 years older than he was in Empire Records, probably getting on stage with Gwar. So if you're in the Chicago area or you're going to Riot Fest, which I would highly, highly, highly recommend going to Riot Fest. If I was in the Chicago area, I would be there. I'd probably pay I'd probably pay a couple $100 for this one, because Rancid is playing, Blink is playing. The weird thing about this, and I will say, just kind of an off topic a little bit, they have Blink 182 listed billed at the top of all the bands, and they are billed above Slayer. Now, I'm not a Slayer fan at all. I don't dislike them. I don't listen to Slayer, but really. Let's calm down a little bit. Slayer should be above Blink 182. And honestly, in my book, I love Blink 182. They're power heroes and stuff. Rancid should be above Blink 182. It's ridiculous. Really is ridiculous. All right, one more thing in music news. Apparently, Judas Priest, Rob Halford, the lead singer of Judas Priest, feels the same way that a lot of us do about cell phones at concerts and at shows. And apparently, at a show recently, I don't even know where exactly that show was, there was a fan up close to the stage who was holding up their phone, and Rob Halford saw fit to kick the phone out of his hands, and it went back about over 6 people's heads past the crowd. I was going to say 6 rows of seats, and it's not seats, it's a pit. But kicked the phone and went flying back. There's actually video of this if you're interested in checking it out. And here's the thing, I get it. People like to hold up their phones, and I've talked to many people about this who really feel the same way. And this is how: take a quick picture, put your blocking people, hold their phone up. Stop. Do it. It's so frustrating. It's like, put your damn phone down. You want to take it? Cool. That's fine. I get it. Stand there holding it for everybody. We're having some issues. We're having some live feed issues. I'm gonna see if I can get. I have a ton of stuff this week. Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are at the end of it, and bringing up and everything. Keep in mind, suffering from mental health. Let's see if I can get that working. Sorry, guys. Just from these issues, and one may find family of issues. Stop checking. And you doing okay? Hey, that kind of stuff. On. Anyway, and I want to bring the fact is, health. Your friend be dealing with those issues. Check in with them. Go away just because. Check in with them. Would be the okay. That came out punching bags pads that they've placed throughout or punch. These are fantastic. And back to the like house. All right, out of whack here. Okay. Cool issue. That's right. This one actually kind of strapped in our live feed is working. And something I was looking at on previous episodes being something nobody see a child and just without really having understanding. Nowadays, we've been helpful for that. They'll say, "Oh, my stomach hurts," and these are your kids. Like I said, can't keep in mind. I'm not going to tell you, stressful situation, behavior, meltdown when you need to keep difficulty transitioning. Stranger to self-harm, eating your own hair. What I do. If you know people that have in mind, they don't life. Chris and/or Tom, what I'm going. Don't very well. It's happening. Here, problems with the live feed. That's so typical. We're and mutual friend of started a Kickstarter that she is looking interested in the Facebook page if you want to support the Kickstarter. Joey's a mother of 3 young boys for a short film, 6 minutes. It's about and the show is know all about the heart in a closet. They're going to build a closet. We'll get. I think that development and dialogue. These are things I love. Everything else and storytelling, but just the 3 young boys. And I'll take this, but it's already for me having to school and to learn. And so this could the link to that fantastic idea be definitely absolutely hashtag comments. I threw these Lego 11 set and it's landing lunar in general. I also cited early on Indian children really fun. But when it comes to shopping on .com, but if you're going to get the thing that you looked at to roll, she talked about like King. It's Mr. Toad. It was used. Is this F with just that text? It's not going to be because wild technical difficulties here. Let me see. Work in sports, and that would be great. This and if you're 90s played. Oh god, he played like 20 years in this week. Constantly 86 baseball. He has legs extra 1986. He has traded this week because I titles series or whatever else it might like. The basic baseball. The Red Sox, obviously. Right before the team gave up, which then brought Bill Buckner, unfortunately, between his legs. Look at a 1-game-7. You can't rest in peace, Buckner. Much, much, much more than. All right, let's get deactivate ratings up on there, or you able to down on some things, but also that back on down on kind of that's what they can do. That choice, and a national world right now. Echo Show. Ways they just I'm seeing lap another iPod Touch surprisingly because eventually they will be doing for people that they want abilities and products in the house of their next. Save by feed is going out, and we are cents throughout the show. Tell It to the Wall podcast very, very, very soon. Wall place, same wall time with episodes over 100 episodes. Always on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Search Go Tell the Wall. Most importantly, just remember that bookmark mentioned as well. Of Go Tell's absolute work, and thank you to Chris Week. We will be common censors. No matter who you are doing it.